right, a massive day of news. Let's get stuck in with the columnist with the Australian, Nick Cater. Nick, thanks for your time. Let's start with more sporting news. We've got this time Rugby Australia and the AFL throwing their support behind the yes vote for the race-based referendum. We've already had individual AFL clubs like Collingwood and Essendon come out in recent weeks and days. Nick, this isn't a surprise. Will it have a powerful impact, or are people sick of being lectured to by sporting clubs?
Well, I think the impact we're going to see is the Bud Light effect, isn't it? I mean, this is what happens. I don't think it'll be quite as dramatic or quick as Bud Light, but the people will switch off. I know a South Sydney supporter, for instance, who's already given in his ticket because he's just sick of the woke that's going on there. Here's the point, Rita. You know, if people want a sermon, they go to church. If they want to be entertained, they go to the football, unless they're a Hawthorn supporter, in which case there's no hope. But anyway, that's the principle. You go to be entertained and amused at football, and you know, people just feel they're not getting their money's worth. We've seen this in America. We've seen crowds drop off in America. We've seen certainly television audiences drop off because, you know, the sporting hosts have become political commentators, and the same will happen here, I promise you.
Yes, ESPN is quite guilty of that from what I hear. Now, what impact could this corporate support have if the voice fails? I wonder what that does to the branding of organisations like the AFL and the Rugby Australia, because it was a very different affair when it was the same-sex marriage plebiscite. We always knew that was going to go through. In the end, it went through probably with a smaller margin than people expected, but it was always going to succeed. This one is very much anyone's guess at this point. It could very well fail. And what does it look like if you've got an AFL club or the entire organisation backing this contentious, divisive issue, and it falls over, Nick?
Well, I mean, the first point to make is I think it'll have no influence on the vote. That's the first point. I mean, that they kind of assume people are like sheep, you know, that they're just waiting for their football club to tell them which way to vote. Doesn't actually work like that. In fact, it has the opposite effect, and it reminds me of the Brexit referendum in the UK, where, you know, it was backed by every large company you can imagine and every big organisation, every university, etc. And it didn't get up because it doesn't really influence people's votes. In fact, it can put them off. As for the corporate reputation, well, they'll survive, of course, because in the end, you know, there's only so much boycotting you can do. I mean, when you've got both, you know, as you did in the same-sex marriage debate, both Virgin and Qantas right on board with this, well, you know, what you're going to do, walk if you're on the no side, you know. So there is a limit to what we can do, but. The Bud Light thing was beautiful, though, wasn't it? I mean, I've always...
That was powerful because it was so immediate, it was organic, it wasn't being led. And in fact, there were quite a few conservative leaders and prominent people, from Caitlyn Jenner to Donald Trump Jr., saying, stop the boycott. They've got the message, don't destroy this company. And the people said, no, stuff them, we're still boycotting.
No,
I think that was really much
Yeah, I think we should boycott all light beer, actually. I mean, it's all a bit sus to me, but then that's probably just me.